All right, Rudy, part 2. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, man.
More of a story to tell.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear. So last time we left off, you had joined the military and, pick up where you left off. Tell us about that.
So like I was saying, ran out of money in college and, it was one of those things where, it's like all my life I just wanted to like get out on my own. So, and I was kind of raised that way. Like if you were to talk to like my uncles, my mom, all like, anyone on my mother's side, like we were all, like they were all, the focus is always how to be self-sufficient. Okay. Not like a mean way or don't talk to those people up on the hill because, it's just like, it was always like ingrained in us to like, be nice to people and try to help people, but at the same time, like be able to take care of yourself. You mix that with, I think we talked a little bit about it, my immaturity and, the household situation with no dad or stuff like that. And it's like, I'm just ready to leave. I'm ready to get out. I'm ready to explore the world. I'm ready to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. So, with that, I guess if there was a label to that, it would be me being stubborn at the highest level, mixed with immaturity at a very high level. So find myself in that situation, someone from the outside might say, oh, well, you figured it out. And it was like, well, what really happened was there was no way I was going home, saying, Mom, is my bedroom still open? Because
was there storage now?
I need to come home and she would have, but at the same, I have to look at myself in the mirror and I would have to be okay with that. And there's no way I was going to be okay with that. And, let's be honest, I was out partying, drinking my face off, I make no bones about it. Like I was being a young kid, and there would have been a whole nother level of readjusting coming home as a quote unquote pseudo adult. So mix all that together with, you're smarter than this. You can figure it out. That's what drove me to join the military. So in typical fashion, college kid, being out on my own, thinking I have it figured out, thinking I have like, all the pieces to the plan. I was like, I did the typical thing. Oh, I'm just going to go in, do my 4 years or 2 years. At the time, I think in the Air Force, at least, the standard was 4 years. I'll do my 4 years, collect my GI Bill money, do my service. Thank you.
School for free.
I can mark this off. Like, I did it, and I'll just finish school and go on my merry way and continue on with the plan that I set out when I left home the first time. But that that didn't happen, but that was a plan at that time. So the funny thing about that whole time period is, there were like so many mistakes that I made that I reflect on along the way. I think we had talked about how I stopped playing football and, and I had some trumped up excuse. I needed more time to focus more on the academics, just to stop fooling myself and to stop trying to bullshit everyone around me, saying that, oh yeah, it was taking up too much time. It's like, no, it wasn't. You just weren't focusing. You weren't paying attention to what you should have been paying attention to in the first place. So, I said it was weird because of that. And then he's like my brother, really. We grew up in the neighborhood, from like when we were super young, like babies, really. I call him my brother because out of everyone in the neighborhood, if we ever got into like brothers do, family, if we ever got into like a disagreement or a squabble or something like that, and he went home and his dad got wind of it, like there were legit times where his dad would walk him down to my house and make us apologize and
oh shit.
yeah, and be good with one another, like, and just squash it like right off the bat. Like no one else had ever done it. Like I had never seen that before. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen, other than like, made up shows and, storylines on, insert name of drama series. Like you don't see that. Like
Full House.
Yeah, any of those. Like pick one. He had joined, so and to be fair, I always idolized him because he was like really smart, especially in math. Like his whole family, really. Like
Your friend or the father?
My neighborhood friend. Like
okay.
It was him, and he had 3 sisters, 2 older and 1 younger, and they were just smart, and effortless too. It's not like you would never really think like, oh, look at that guy, or look at her over there, like, all the typical immature, like, oh, that dork, and that geek, like, we're just like normal people. They're like super smart. When he graduated, he joined the military. I went to college, and in that period where I had moved off campus and got to the point to where I was not even going to college anymore, he had come to visit me, and he was still in. And he told me, the funny thing, he told me, whatever you do, don't join. He's like,
What branch did you join?
He was in the Army.
What are you, infantry?
I have no idea. I can't remember what. It might have been comms.
Oh, it's usually those guys that say, I just did this. Don't do it.
He was like, whatever you do, he's like, don't do it. And
what's funny is
I was like, I mean, you seem to be successful. You're like, going to different places and stuff like that. Like, he's like, yeah, but just don't do it, whatever you do.
Yeah. I had a buddy tell me the same. He was Marine Corps infantry, early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was like still soft Humvees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like no turret armor. They're sticking out of the top. And I told him I was going to go Army infantry. He's like, dude, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, do something. Yeah, join the Air Force and do something like easy. And I was like, no, I want to shoot bad guys.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And now somebody else, I should join the Army. I'm like, don't go infantry, dude. Do something else.
right.
Do something else.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way.
I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
So I did not take his advice because, given what I thought were my options at that time, the military was the way to go. And to be fair, like I have an uncle in every branch except the Coast Guard. So I wasn't a stranger to, like, I knew what the military is about, and like I'd seen my uncles, they went, they served in Vietnam. I had uncles that served in Korean War. I think he's old enough. Yeah. They served. I've had younger uncles that, done reserves, like everyone, and they all seem successful to me. So once I broke the news to the family that I was going, my uncle was just, my 2 uncles, the one that I roasted peanuts with that I mentioned, and the other one I had gone to the flea market with, they both basically just said, like, keep your nose down, don't get in any trouble, and you won't have any problems, And I took it to heart, and that's what I did. So, yeah. So Valentine's Day, 1996. That was my drop-in date. Date of entry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the day you went to boot camp or the day you enlisted?
That was the day I went.
Oh, you went?
Yeah, that was the day. That was the day I.
How was Air Force boot camp? When did you join? What year?
Oh man! So we're gonna do this. So 96.
96. So I don't know. I went Army boot camp in 2008.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna give it to you straight.
Differences, yeah.
I'm gonna give it to everyone straight. I'm gonna give it where I look there. I'm gonna give it to everyone straight. So this is what you're gonna get with me. College athlete, grew up squabbing a little bit, you go to boot camp, you see quote unquote boot camp.
Keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You see quote unquote boot camp, you know, in the movies, or the pictures, as they say, or whatever, you know, and you have this, you know, idea of what it's going to be like. Air Force, I guess it was right around the time, like right when they were really pushing, you know, keep your hands off of the recruits. Don't quote unquote abuse them. It was like during that time, from what I can tell, like it was, and they were taking it like seriously, because there was at least one TI that we had, and they were TIs, not drill instructors.
Technical instructors, is that what that is?
Training instructors.
Oh, training instructor.
Right, not drill instructors. Right, TIs.
Yeah.
That got in trouble because of him putting his hands on, ironically, funny enough, the tallest, kind of like biggest guy in our flight. Yeah, he got in trouble for it, and the TI was probably all of 5'3", and this guy was easily 6'1". But the TI
roughed him up a bit.
Well, the TI, you know, did one of these. The TI probably did one. He like poked him in the chest type of thing. Yeah. You know, but it's like this guy's like 6'1".
Yeah.
And the TI is like 5'3", and he's like poking him in the chest. It's like, you could tell he was, you know, not to go off on a tangent, but this is like one of the funny times because you could tell he had like big truck little guy syndrome, kind of, you know. He messed with me. I just ignored him. Like, you know, I don't pay attention to that. I was a little bit older than most of the guys, if not all of them anyway, because I went in like going into my 22nd birthday or 22nd year on Earth, whatever you want to call it. But I was turning 22 that year. So stuff like that, stuff like that doesn't bother me. Yeah. But I also wasn't volunteering for a lot of stuff. I volunteered myself out of a few things, as a matter of fact. And because of the whole situation with revolving TIs and for various reasons or whatever, we never had a consistent TI for the 6 weeks we were there. So
it was only 6 weeks?
It was only 6 weeks.
Jesus.
Yeah, so Air Force training was 6 weeks then. I think they bumped it up to 8 weeks now.
Damn, mine was 16.
Yeah, we don't.
16.
And that's just basic.
Shit.
Yeah, that's just
that was
basic.
my basic.
Yeah,
in infantry boot camp, it's like, because Army is like you do basic training and then your AIT, your advanced individual training. Yeah. But as for combat arms, infantry, it's all in the same spot. So you do 12 weeks of boot camp, and then you do a month of like infantry training. Okay. So it's really nothing. You don't like.
You never break once you enter. Yeah. So like for the Air Force, at least for my AFSC, because I was a sheet metal guy, airframe, and corrosion control, painting. Basic was at Lackland in San Antonio. Yeah. And then my first tech school was, well, I guess would be AIT for you guys. Yeah. From Army. They called them tech schools. My first tech school was at Shepherd. Totally different base.
Where's that?
That was in Texas too.
Oh, okay.
Wichita Falls.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my second, and that's where I did painting, corrosion control was at Shepherd.
Okay. Like on airplanes and shit?
Yeah, you practice on like, you know, pieces of metal or whatever. Right. You don't really. There was really you weren't really painting because you could end up depending on where you were stationed. I mean, you could be painting fighter jets, you could be painting, you know, heavies, but Shepherd was the first place where everyone with the AFSC would do the corrosion control portion. So the second school was at Memphis Naval Air Station, and I believe we might have been like next to the last class to go through there. And we had these that was a fun time too, because we had at that time, when you're in the school, we had what we call like, dorms or wherever your living quarters were. Mm-hmm. You would have, if you weren't on a straight out Air Force base, like Shepherd was an Air Force base. Mm-hmm. Memphis, on the other hand, was a naval air station. So they had Navy, they would have Marines, and then we have our Air Force detachment. We had, I guess, what you would call a flight chief. Okay. And he was the last, for all you Air Force historians or Air Force history buffs, we had, I think, technically he was either the last buck sergeant in the entire Air Force or one of two, which now a buck sergeant is a senior airman. So it's an E4.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was the type of individual where it's like, no, I'm a buck sergeant. I'm not a senior airman.
Salty buck sergeant.
Yeah. But that was cool. And then from there, my first duty station was Shady J, Seymour Johnson.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's in Goldsboro, North Carolina. So it's East Coast.
Not too far from home either.
Not too far. I mean, I can get home in, I don't know, 8 hours, something like that. Mm-hmm. That's where I ended up. First duty station was Seymour Johnson. There they had training and active fighter jet squadron, F-15 squadrons. So that was the time. So, couple funny things. I don't know what kind of format you want, but I'll sit here and talk all night, so it doesn't make any
whatever,
difference.
man. Have at it.
When I remember getting picked up by my first supervisor. So to fly into Goldsboro, I flew commercial most of the way into North Carolina. And I don't remember where. It might have been Raleigh or something like that. But from the commercial airport, I had to take a smaller jet to like some obscure airfield, and I forget where it was. Mm-hmm. And I got picked up at night, and got picked up by my supervisor, Sergeant. I'll never forget this guy. His name is Sergeant Comtos. He was from Woburn.
Oh, Mass.
Yep, okay. Woburn, Mass. And real cool dude, laid back. One of those, supervisors that he wasn't like, he was never like really in your ass unless like you screwed up or something like that. Mm-hmm. But one of the funniest memories I have is he asked me, we were in the shop one time, and he asked me if I knew how to play spades, and I said,
"That's a good game."
I was like, "No, I don't know how to play spades." So he goes, "What? You don't know how to play spades?" He basically said, like, "You're a black dude and you don't know how to play spades?" I was like, "No, I have no idea, man." So
that's funny.
Needless to say, I learned how to play spades quick, fast. But some dude from Woburn, Mass, with the funny accent is going to tell me, like, try to tell me what I should and should not know how to do. Was hilarious. But it was a good time there, man. I kept my nose clean for the most part.
For the most part,
kept my nose clean.
You get in trouble?
No, never got in trouble. I guess keeping my nose clean wouldn't be like the best way to put it, but I would say, like, in regards to the path that I thought I was gonna, I in my mind I had set out to travel on versus what I did in real life. they went this way. Mm-hmm. And it was like the paths split, you know, and the path that I wanted to stay on went this way, and the path that I actually traveled was, you know, the opposite. But yeah, so I remember that was the first time I bought a car, because the only other car I had in my life, my uncle had given me. Mm-hmm. And I ended up being dumb, overtired, not listening to my mom, working all day, and then being out taking care of errands instead of just staying home. I fell asleep like maybe 2 miles from where I eventually crossed into oncoming traffic and ran into the woods. Oh, and wrecked my car. Luckily, it was super late, and the bus that normally, the transit bus that runs, you know, on that main road wasn't coming. So it was rainy. I just dozed off, tried to hold window down trick, almost made it home, and ended up running into the woods, hit a tree.
Lucky you didn't kill yourself, man. Did you get hurt real bad, or?
Not a peep. I mean, maybe my back's paying for it now. I have no idea, because, you know, at the big old age of 50, the small of my back is really acting up. But no, I did not get hurt. Once I crossed all the way over traffic, and hit the grass past the shoulder on that side of the highway, is when I kind of like came to. But everything it was nighttime. It had been raining, so the glass was not clear. I just woke up to darkness and being in the car.
Right, what the hell?
And immediately I realized, like, I'm on the wrong side of the road. I tried to actually correct the car, with not even thinking. And I couldn't, because the ground was wet. Tires weren't. It was a 76 Tercel, made out of, when they were still making cars out of metal. So that there was no, I'm sorry, it wasn't a Tercel, it was a Corolla. There was no gripping and getting back onto the asphalt. So needless to say, I just kept going into the woods. So I didn't get hurt. And I was thankful for that. So once the car, so luckily, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So crashed in the woods. The tree I hit wasn't like a huge tree. Yeah. And it was a smaller tree, enough to stop the car, but small enough to where the car actually lodged onto it. Oh, like so when so I literally when the car stopped, my first thought was, well, there goes my insurance. I'll never forget that. And I hopped out, and here's me trying to push the car off of the tree now I have to deal with my mom. I have to tell my uncle, and my insurance is going to go up. So
you weren't even worried about the car, just like, what's my mom going to say, my uncle?
And my insurance. Yeah. And it's like, midnight or whatever it was. So I went across the street, and this is a common, like, I've gone on this road like a gajillion times, like a million times I've been on this road. I went across the street, knocked on the lady's door, and knocked on the door, and I knew it was an older couple that lived there just from going back and forth. But she called the cops for me.
It wasn't on you, for you?
No, it wasn't on me. She called the cops for me to get him out there and help me out. And that was the time. I lucked out too, because I tracked where I started to turn my steering wheel, and I looked at the tires, and I missed hitting a telephone pole probably by about that much.
Yeah, you weren't pushing that over.
If the tires, for whatever reason, if I would have came to a little bit sooner, or if the tires are going slower or something like that, I basically steered. I would have steered right into the telephone pole. That could have been a different situation.
Yeah.
So I was thankful for that. So, yeah. So anyway, just dumb decisions. But what were we talking about? Getting back to, me keeping my nose clean and making decisions and stuff like that. Yeah. So the car story came up because I'm on base now, first duty station. I got a place to sleep. I don't have to worry about food.
Yep.
Combinations are nice. It's like, what do we do? What's the first thing a GI does when he gets on base? Buys a car.
Yeah, that's 25% interest.
That's one of the things. No. So I bought a car, and the car was someone selling it on base because we had a car lot on base.
Yeah,
people could put cars.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah.
So I bought the car from another person on base, and I think it was like $5,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting the on base credit union. Seymour Johnson Federal Credit Union. I ended up getting a loan with them to buy the car. I show up with my car for my shift, and the shop supervisor, Sergeant, this is another cool dude too, Sergeant Burgess. What's it, Burgess? Yeah, Sergeant Burgess. Cool dude. He could fix anything, whatever. He made it seem like it was not a big deal. He brought his motorcycle in on Fridays because I work second shift. If he had to work on it or whatever, just a real cool dude. He looks at me and he goes, "You're going to be married, and you'll be married in less than a year. Mark my words." That's what he said to me.
Now, just randomly?
Just randomly. He's like, excuse me. I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm doing this. Here's my plan, blah, 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 blah." He goes, "All right. We'll see." And
Kind of a random thing to say.
But you have to think, at the time he's a tech sergeant. He's probably seen...
Which is E7?
E7.
Yeah.
He's probably almost been there himself, or he's seen so many people come through, and you start to see the patterns. Yep, first is a car.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna be like, "Hey, I wanna live off base. Live off base.
Meet a girl."
Yep. And there's no shortage of girls. You got the NCO club and all that. So I was like, "Nah, it won't happen." And damn if it didn't.
Nice.
It did.
Was it a stripper?
It was not.
The amount of guys over in Italy
it was
stationed over there, the amount of dudes that married strippers was ridiculous.
Right. No.
Ridiculous.
No. So yeah. So I within a span of less than a year, because I got to Seymour Johnson in September, I think. Might have been August. Yeah, I got there in September because it was whatever the big hurricane that came through during that time. I had been on base literally, I think, for not even 2 weeks, and the hurricane came through, and had to do cleanup duty or whatever. Right. I remember it. So it was hurricane season. I was married in less than a year. Yep.
With your wife now, or
no? Okay. No, it was my first marriage.
Okay.
Yep. So, got married, had 2 kids. Eventually ended up getting divorced.
While you were still in the Air Force?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, that's where we're at on that. What else you got?
Okay, so you didn't do 4 years, you did 8.
I ended up doing 8.
Okay, so you obviously re-enlisted. What made you re-enlist?
So, couple things. It's so funny, like, when I started thinking back about some of the reasons that I told myself why I do certain things. Mm-hmm. When I went into the military, when I joined, I signed up for, like, you know, comm, communication, computer this, computer that, and I scored well enough for any of those things. But me not knowing the process and me just saying, I need to get in, full circle with the choices you make. I was like, I can't go home.
To learn something.
I have to enlist as soon as possible because I got to start making money. I just let me in. Basically, it's like, well, they're like, well, here's what we got for you. Sheet metal. Airframe. Yeah. And painting. I was like, I guess that's what I'm doing. I had no idea about delayed enlistment. No idea. You know, you kind of can, like, even though you've done the preliminary, you know, you can hold out. Like, you can wait or whatever. I didn't know anything about any of that until I got in. But by that time it was too late, you know. So that was one reason, because I like, this is cool, but I don't want to do this. And on top of that, you know, I lived in a dorm. So in the dorm, it wasn't like everyone who worked on the flight line was together, it was a mix. And one of my friends at the time, he was a scheduler.
Okay.
You know, and another friend of mine, we're still friends to this day too. He packed chutes for the, for the pilots. He packed their seats. These guys, they never got dirty. Like, they, you know, their BDUs stayed creased. You know, they were always smiling. Like, they never looked like they got dirty. There was never, you know, I was like, you guys kind of got it made. Here's me. I'm like, I have to spend my actual clothing allowance because, you know, I got sealant on one leg. You know, I got, you know, a rip in one pocket from jumping in and out of the van on the flight line or getting snagged on the end of a wingtip or something like that, you know, while I'm out on the flight line pulling stuck screws at, you know, whatever time. So I was like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of smelling like solvent and having, you know, rivet shavings glued to my pants or whatever. I'm going to do something different. So, plus at that time, that's when computers were becoming a thing, so to speak. Home computers.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So the first computer I had, actually, I built it myself. Oh, really? So, yeah. So I just ordered a part, did the research, ordered the parts, and put it together myself. So I got into that, and with me originally wanting to get into that field anyway, so to speak, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and do something else. So in the Air Force, you can, as long as you do, I think it's technically 3 years. Keep your nose clean, you know, don't get in any trouble, you know. As long as you, I guess, serve honorably for 3 years, you can cross train into another AFSC. Okay. And I won't say it's pretty much guaranteed. At that time, the program was pretty much guaranteed as long as you didn't get in any trouble. So that's what I did. So
like cybersecurity, like just IT.
No, it was technically it was I want to say it was 3A maybe. I think it's changed since then.
I don't know what that is.
But they called it work group management. And I think now they call it information management now. Okay. Or before I got out, it changed to information management. Okay. Something like that. Where they kind of merge, you know how the military, like, you know, all the, excuse me, all the eggheads get together and they, you're like, oh yeah, we have this great idea. So we're going to take this, and we're going to take this, and we're going to change numbers and change names and, you know, polish it off. And now this is what we call this. Isn't that exciting? It sounds exciting, right? But it's, you know, so I think they changed the name, but it was still, you know, it was information management, records management type of deal. So what they did, and what you would think like what IT support is today, hey, I got to call my guy, you know, who's in the basement somewhere at work to come from the dungeon to help me with my printer. It's IT support with records management. I don't know anyone who liked records management at all, including myself. There are a lot of technical rules.
So like database records.
So it's more along the lines of records management is more along the lines of maintaining official communication properly. Okay. Correct. You know, this email, what is it? It needs to be properly stored. This record, what is it? It's on paper. You know, what's the markings? It needs to be properly stored for this amount of time. You know, I don't really know any. At the time, I was like, it takes a special person who really wants to get into the records management portion of this job versus the.
That doesn't sound awesome.
No, versus the actual fun, cool, in my mind, IT side of the game. So I gravitated more towards the IT portion. Now, I had to deal with the records management portion, especially when I first cross-trained. But when I transitioned up to Hanscom Air Force Base, I lucked out because I was kind of given the choice of where I wanted to go. And I said, I heard, hey, a lot of computer support. The budget is not tight. Or you could go do this in one of these other groups or departments. I was like, I think I'll take the computer support where we have 400 users to support, 400 or 500 users to support, and you're going to be doing computer stuff like all day. I was like, yes, please, I'll do that. Because there were other individuals on the base who did a little bit of that and had to deal with the records portion. And I was really not interested in that. So I kind of lucked out there because I learned a lot, and I had a good time. I enjoyed it. With anything you have to put up with when you're. So let me back up. So at Hanscom, it's contractor and civilian heavy. I call it it's like military business park.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times.
Yeah. So you know MITRE's there, MIT's right around the corner. You know, you have, you know, all these program centers and stuff that, you know, they're dealing with, you know, stuff. And so you get a different side of it. It's not real military at all. At Seymour Johnson, at least we had I went through a couple exercises where, you know, you're doing the multiple 12s for the week or whatever, in mop gear and all that. And then, you know, I put in for a change of duty station up at Hanscom, and it's like, what is that? I think we may have done gas once.
With the gas? Right?
Yeah, and it was basically going into a trailer.
Oh, doing that.
Yeah, we might have just as that portion of the training, like if you ever hold your breath, you got to put your
yeah.
Or you go in with it on. I think it was this particular one. You went in with your mask on, and then
you take it off.
You got to take it off.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like the exercise where you do the gas, and then you got to get in your gear and.
No, that would have been more like Seymour Johnson.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah, where they, you know, give you the alert. You're simulating. Yeah. Okay, this portion of the base is, you know, the theater and. But yeah, so that was a big switch. It wasn't real. It wasn't. There wasn't the same amount of camaraderie. Everyone's doing their own thing. You know, it's basically like, okay, I had time to make the donuts. I made the donuts. I'm clocking out. I'm going home. You know.
And that was active?
That was active.
On Hanscom?
Yep.
Don't
get me wrong. The housing was nice, there? And yeah, I was still married.
Was there housing on post?
Housing was on post.
Oh, it was. Is it still like that?
As far as I know, it is.
Oh shit, huh?
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, when I left, but then again, I left like 16 years ago. Mm-hmm. They were developing new housing. Like they had like, and it was officer heavy.
Is Hanscom an active duty base?
It is technically.
Oh, okay.
Yep. They just don't have an active flight line. Okay. That's all. So, something to do with the whole, you know, BRAC and all that stuff. I don't know. I have no idea when they shut the active flight line down and all that. But yeah, it wasn't active when I was there.
Okay. So you do 8 years Air Force.
Yeah.
You learn information management, IT stuff. You get out.
No.
What are you doing now?
Now?
I mean, when I say now, like right after.
You mean like right after?
Yeah.
So I turned right back around and came in as a contractor, defense contractor, doing the same job, making
double the money,
making more. Yeah,
yeah.
It was night and day. I mean, it has its plus and minuses, you know. But yeah, that's what I did. I basically doing the same thing, working with the same people, same group. And I went, so I became a defense contractor. I stayed in that group for a little while, and then got hired on into another position with another company on base. And stayed there for, I don't know, I got out in 2004. I stayed there a few years. Took a break for a little bit and then came back, worked another year or so, and then decided I was going to be a personal trainer. I was going to do my own business.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about you.
Yep.
No shit.
Yep.
All right, took a short break, little pee break,
and we're back.
But so you were cutting into personal training.
Yeah. So I got in my, I forget, I think it was IFPA or something like that, certification to become a personal trainer, because I was like, yeah, I'll do that on the side. Like I was like working out. I was a gym rat, whatever, gym monkey, whatever you want to call it, and I ended up like training on base, getting a contract, and then doing some like off base like private training and stuff like that. I had what you call studio, ended up being a garage in Lowell, in Lowell, Mass. Mm-hmm. I did that for a little bit, and eventually went back to school, actually, and got my exercise physiology degree. So I used at the time I still had some military GI Bill money left. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want it to, run out because of that, 10-year rule. But so I was like, it just seems like something that is like right up my alley. So did that. Went through some breakups, some relationships, just, me being quote unquote in the streets. Chasing, I don't know. It was, I don't know, just being, for lack of a better way of explaining, just being like unfocused, undisciplined, and reckless. So
And this is post-military?
This is post-military.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that. Eventually found my wife, my now wife. Mm-hmm. And we met online, actually. And,
dating site?
Yeah.
Which one?
It was, I think it was like Plenty of Fish or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing salacious. No.
Like Adult Friend Finder?
Yeah. No. Nothing like that. Met her and we hit it off, and she's my wife to this day. We've been together for 11 years. We've been together for 11 years, married for 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your personal training, how long did that last? Like, what'd you do after that?
Personal training lasted between, me calling myself doing it, privately and being employed, because there was a stint where I was employed at a training studio. I think they like to call it a boutique. That lasted for, I don't know. Let's see, 2000. In total, 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, like in total, it was like 6 years. And then my now wife, who's super patient. I've never met a more patient, big-hearted person in my life. Mm-hmm. Especially put up with me. We talked, and we had decided that a move closer to my kids was probably the best thing to do at the time. So, with the move, that kind of stopped the personal training. I did end up working at a gym, but it was selling memberships. I wasn't doing any personal training.
Okay.
And I knew that I would not like it, and I did not like it, So I got back into the IT world, and pretty much stuck with that. So I'm still doing IT support. So somewhere along the lines, after an apartment and buying a house, the wife and I, we decided that real estate's real estate might be the way to set up for the legit long term. Mm-hmm. We all have our dreams and hopes, and hey, if we do this, mm-hmm. maybe we could do this like side hustle for a little bit, and mm-hmm. to get this, from a tactical standpoint, not from a strategic standpoint, long term, so that we can go on vacation, maybe, or maybe we can do the side hustle for a little bit so that we can, repair the fence or something like that. But mm-hmm. We really got into it once we set our mind to say that we're going to go after and pursue real estate. We just started doing the typical bigger pockets when we were traveling between Mass and New Hampshire, mm-hmm. To visit family or whatever. That's what we had. We had podcasts, and we went to YouTube U, and yep. That's what we did. It didn't happen right away, and we ended up like doing a lot of learning. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And that was basically because of logistics. Like, we never, once my kids had graduated high school, the plan was to move, back to New Hampshire. So, with that, and with COVID going on, everything, that kind of like delayed our plans a little bit. But yeah, eventually we got going and settled into it.
Okay. What was your first? You have investment properties. No, you're doing flips right now, right?
No, technically we're not. I wouldn't say I'm doing flips. We're getting out of our.
Oh, long-term holds, right?
Right. Long-term holds is really the strategy.
Okay. Yeah. What was your first one?
The first one was a buy and hold in Haverhill, actually. And funny story about that is I bought it and got hit with that deep freeze. And that basically I had to deal with insurance. So that was a whole new realm of
pipes burst
learning,
and all that
pipes
stuff?
burst.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a time. It had a lot of pipes, a lot of holes that burst. Foundation literally crumbled out from underneath a portion of the house. Yeah, it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was fun times.
Well, if you're gonna learn that way quick, right?
Yeah. One of my mentors, he's like, I remember telling him, and he was like, well, he's like, you're learning pretty fast. You're on the fast track of learning what it means to own property and have to deal with issues when they arise. I call him my mentor because he's guided me a lot, and he's helped me out. He's helped me out a lot. Things I would never even
think of,
I wouldn't even think of, because you've never done it before. And when you first get into I would say anything, but especially I feel like with real estate, it's easy to get into I'm going to listen to the how-to nice side, get into real estate. Like, there's no shortage of it's apple pie.
Yeah.
And, blue skies. There's no shortage of that
until your foundation crumbles.
And real estate, like, you could pull up for everyone that talks legit about, okay, here are some things that could happen, and the stories of how you have to actually deal with issues that would make a lot of people say, I don't want any parts of this. Nope, I don't want to do this at all. There's 1,000 apple pie, blue sky podcasts out there saying how great it is. He guided me, he still guides me through that. He actually, through that one experience, he showed me what the importance of a good relationship is, as far as from a business standpoint, from a human to human respect standpoint, and from a reality based standpoint. But in all of that, what the thing that stands out the most is the value of maintaining the value of the relationship. You can go find a lender. You can go find this person that's going to set up a property hunt for you, and you call and I got this handyman, and but it's the relationships you build with those individuals,
and it's super important
that are key.
Yeah, for example, when I have clients, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to use my local bank and my credit union," which is fine. I mean,
right,
sure, but hey, can you call your credit union 9:00 at night?
Right.
Can you call them on the weekends?
Right.
Are they going to expedite things for you just because you asked? No.
Right.
All the answers are no. I can do that with my lenders. I can do that with my inspectors.
Right.
So on and so forth. And like, yeah, the value of the relationship is super important, because it can mean getting the job done or not.
Right. Or, I mean, it could, even beyond that, it could be like the difference between you making a horrible, life-changing decision or, for lack of a better way of saying it, having the light at the end of the tunnel, like the flickering where it's like, I don't know if this is going to actually work out for me. Mm-hmm. And it's not just me that's depending on these decisions that I'm making. Like, I have a family, you have a wife, you have responsibilities. The value of those relationships are key, because anywhere along the line where you're second guessing yourself or something, like maybe I shouldn't do this, you have that, you can lean on that relationship outside of the X's and O's and you need to do this and you need to do that and make sure you call this person. Mm-hmm. You have that relationship to lean on to, help you not be distracted by the flickering at the light, but also tell you that's the light that you still need to be going towards, because it's worth it. When you don't value those relationships, and I see it all the time, like see and or hear, like when you don't value those relationships and it's more of what can I get out of this orange, how much juice can I get out of this before I can just, discard the rind and the peel. You like oftentimes you find yourself in situations where you're doing a lot more work and you have to do a lot more of a shell game of, okay, I'm this person today, so you need to see me being this person today. I'm going to be this person tomorrow, or I might be this person the next minute. And now I got to, you're constantly playing this like persona shell game, because you're trying to juggle everything, and you're trying to keep those resources, available and handy for yourself, but you're not valuing the tie that binds you to those resources. In other words, the value of it.
Okay.
So, I say all I say, like, the relationship I learned, like, if anything, like outside of the actual like tactical stuff that my mentor has like guided me on, showed me like the value of keeping a solid, open communications type of relationship. He showed me the value of that, and it's not hard. You just have to. You have to humble yourself, and you have to, be open to know what you don't know.
Yeah, as a saying, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. You know what's funny about that? I actually said that one time, and I was like some post or something I made or something like that, and I said those same words, and someone responded and said, almost verbatim, they said, fuck that, I want to be the king. And I'm like, there's no, like, you really don't understand how.
Yeah, you don't understand.
You don't understand how you don't understand how that works. Like, a king, you want to be a king amongst or over, you want to reign over a kingdom of fools? Like, what kind of value? Like, what is that to stand on?
Well, it just means that person doesn't value growth.
Yeah, or he can't even see it. Like, I've grown as much as I need to.
Yeah, then you got the blind.
No one's Yeah. No one's challenging me. Mm-hmm. But the blind thinks they have 20/20 vision. That's the thing. and everyone else is just eyeless. Yeah. So. So yeah, I had to deal with that. That was the first one out the gate. burst pipes, had to deal with insurance for an entire year.
What did it end up costing you to get? Well, the insurance paid for, I imagine, paid for most of it. Or some of it.
For what I wanted to get done, it didn't. But I made it work.
You still have that property?
Still have it. And I mean, to be honest with you, it'll turn out to actually be not a bad like hold. It wasn't, you know, a lot of times you'll hear in the real estate industry, it's like you make your money when you buy. I don't 100% agree with that, because depending on who you talk to, they could just mean like literally like the dollars and cents that you spend at the time versus what you can get back the minute you walk from that table. And it's like, well, if you're looking at value and growth and value add and all that, sometimes that takes time. And
I think that might be what the intent is behind that.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously you're not going to buy the property, walk away from the closing table and make some sort of return. I think what that, in my opinion, I think what it means is like you make money as soon as you buy if you hold it long term.
Or if you play it smart and see the value.
Is that, or, you know whatever your strategy is.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I learned a lot. Learned a lot in a short period of time.
It's probably a good thing. Learn it quick. Learn it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still have that. Partner and I, we went in on a flip, and we should be getting out of that shortly.
The place I sold you guys. That one?
Yep, that place. Yes.
Nice.
Yep, that one.
Nice.
Yep. That was another learning experience, my first flip. A lot of lessons learned.
Heard the agent on the other side was a hard ass with negotiations.
Oh, when we purchased that?
Yeah.
Not too bad. I mean, no different than any other agent, I guess. Everyone's trying to protect somebody or something. So, it's all in the game, man. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that, a lot of people, they get into it. It's hard to, and I get it, it's hard to separate, the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Separate that from, the logic behind the decision making.
Mm-hmm.
So, I try not to, especially because, you're getting into real estate, outside of your personal home that you live in. Mm-hmm. Like, I look at things like, okay, here's the dollars and cents of it. If I'm going to move forward, I'm going to move forward. If not, I am. There's no but I really like the way the sidewalk wraps around, the northeast corner of the property. I really think that's going to make this whole deal pop for me. It's like, I don't have that. I also, you learn, there's a certain line that and every deal is different, but there's a certain line that you go to that, some people might say, there's some soft lines, but if there are soft lines or, smaller steps towards that hard line where it's like you can't do the deal if it hits that, I'm more of
backstop, so to speak.
Yeah, I won't try to make a non-deal a deal. And I feel like, with the apple pie, blue sky, gajillion hours of podcasting and YouTube university and, everyone throwing you their hot newsletter, every other day, and someone calling you, you gotta figure out where your hard line is and stick to it. because anyone will sell you a dream. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it's a lender, if it's another investor, an agent, your mom, anyone, everyone has their own outlook on it, or their own idea. And you have to quickly develop some sort of strategy and stick to it, because that's the only way that you can kind of keep some sanity, and B, you can keep your emotions in check.
Yeah, so pretty much biologically, not emotionally.
Yeah. And
have a set of parameters in place that if it goes beyond those, not a deal for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I get excited and I celebrate the wins when they're wins.
Yeah.
But I'm not of the ilk of celebrating, before I've even finished like lacing up my cleats to play the game. Like, that's just not me. Because outside of the potential financial loss or financial, delay, self-imposed by making, irrational decisions or decisions that are contrary to, your strategy, there's a whole emotional roller coaster yo-yo factor, that it's just not worth it. Like, you'll just burn yourself out. So, yeah, so that's a Haverhill house. We have the flip going that you sold us. Mm-hmm. I should be getting out of that soon. And currently working with a partner on another 4-unit. Burnout that a lot of people would probably say, yeah, I'll take a pass on that.
Is that private money, hard money? How you guys funding that?
Yeah, it's private.
Yeah,
it's private too. And always looking for, something else. Looking for the next deal.
Awesome.
Yep.
What now?
Song and dance. We can do karaoke. You guys into karaoke? We can do any of that.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it was quite the story. What are your future plans? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to get more real estate so you can retire on it, create generational wealth? I mean, I don't imagine you want to stay in IT the rest of your life.
No,
that's probably not part of the plan.
That's not part of the plan.
Yeah.
Like long term. Like, yeah. The main reason, I have 3 young kids. So I have 2 adult kids, but I also have 3 young kids. And I want them, 2 reasons. There are 2 things that ultimately what the real estate strategy is geared towards. 1, spending as much time before I leave this earth with my family. That's my number 1, which seems really weird to say because, at any given time, I'm like, Dad's out of the house. Like, he worked IT all day. Now he's out of the house because he's got to take care of this, or he's got to go look at this thing that happened on the property, or he's got to go and, work, a whole Saturday or whatever, in the nicest weather of the year to fix this issue to keep a project on track. But that's the number one like objective.
Yeah.
Or that, I should say target for the strategy is to preserve as much time as I can in the future to spend with my kids. I'm not getting any younger, and yeah, I want to be able to have that for them. And also, the second biggest reason is to give them options. Because, like we were talking about, even like when I grew up, like, didn't have or at least I felt I didn't have like the options. The option that was presented to me was, okay, go to college, play football. You got good enough grades, go do that. Mm-hmm. Okay, that didn't work out. Okay, so what's your next option? You got to figure it out. Okay, I'll go to the military. Okay, and I'll just keep tactically figuring it out. Mm-hmm. You know, fumbling, tripping, falling, scraping my knees. You know, looking at the mistakes, wiping up the mess that I made 99% of the time, and keep moving forward. But with real estate and investing and, you know, super patient wife, loving kids. My kids, like, every day, they hear the door open and they're like screaming, "Dad, Dad!" You know, even my 21-month-old now, you know, is like, "Dad, Dad, Dad!" You know, and like, there's no better feeling than that. You know, the wife and I were talking about the other day. It's like, our kids are, you know, not bragging or anything like that. Their kids are aware. Mm-hmm. They're intelligent. They're aware of their surroundings. They're smart. No thanks to me, more to my wife. And they get things, you know. They don't know how to take it or leave, Dad. Yeah, I'm in my own world. I really don't, you know. Yeah, my parents are there, but whatever. They're like super excited to see me like every day. And, you know, I don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
You know, it may be a little bit much coming through the door sometimes, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's like I don't take it for granted because I would never want them to feel like they should do the opposite of that, you know?
Yeah.
So my thing is I want to be able to nurture that and, you know, stick with this real estate thing just to give them options, you know, to see that there's like more out there to life than just some stovepiped, prepackaged life track. Mm-hmm. You know. So yeah, that's the goal, is to, you know, grow as smartly as I can, and you know, enjoy the time doing it. Because at the end of the day, it's not someone else telling you like how much you're worth by a paycheck. You know, you're controlling your worth, and I want that to be able to translate to my kids so that they have, you know, a positive piece of the puzzle that they can then build their life off of. So that's the plan.
It's great, man. Love it.
That's the plan.
Anything else before we cut it off? I think my camera's going to die here in a second.
I don't know. What do you want to know? Books I'm reading? Or what do you want? Sneakers I like?
What is your favorite color? No. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Rudy Planter. IG, Facebook. That's where I'm at.
Just, well, one word.
Rudy Planter. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll see a lot of funny stuff because I typically also like to make funny videos.
Yeah, I've seen those.
But I also, you know, invest in do other things. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. Reach out. Say hi. You know, if anything else, and say, you can say, hey, you know, I could barely understand what you were saying. Your interview sucked.
Oh, come on, man. You got to be more positive than that.
Or you reach out, just say, hey, man, kind of dug that. Nah.
Yeah, you never know, man. Like, The whole point of this too is really, it's not for me to talk about myself. It's not for me to kind of give my opinion on what you're saying, but for more to let you just talk, you know, and maybe I can guide the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, but it's mainly for you guys just to kind of get it out there, and maybe somebody else watching or listening, you know, will find inspiration from it, or, you know, maybe they'll all reach out and be like, hey man, I had the same problem. Like, how did you deal with X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. And I mean, I love that. Like, that's one of the things that I like, genuinely, like having like a genuine conversation with people. That is one of the things that I enjoy. Kind of along the same lines, like not to like, hey, here's how great I am, and look at what I did, and here's where I'm going, and you know, my KPI this, and my target objective that, and you too can, like, that's not, to me, a lot of times that's just not, it's not genuine. You're basically waiting for, you know, it's two ear holes on the side of any human who will, you know, stand in front of your face for more than 3 seconds to hear you talk about yourself to make yourself feel great about the words you're hearing coming out of your mouth. But it's just not my thing. If you have an issue, it could be business, it could be private, anything, you know, it could be, you know, personal. I mean, I'm all ears and try to help, because yeah, I've experienced some things, and I've helped other people through, you know, some hard times. So yeah, reach out. Reach out. It doesn't just have to be about real estate. It doesn't have to be just about business. It could be about anything. It could be about, you know, failed marriage, successful marriage, you know.
Got experience in both.
You know, good parenting, you know, you know, not so great parenting from an adult standpoint. It could be anything. I'm here.
Cool, man.
That's me.
Fuck, I was literally about to.
Oh, you're going to have to. Damn. You must have forgot that was in there.
No, dude, I made sure it was in there.
No. When it. Oh, okay. All right. I got you.
Yeah. All right. So, appreciate you coming on again.
Thanks, man.
And let's take it right in my mouth. And maybe we'll do another one, dude.
Yeah, I'm game.
I think you got a lot of things to say.
I'm happy to come back anytime you'll have me, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. If you talk to my wife, I've probably done this type of like sit down and, you know, I'm not going to stand on the soapbox, but I'm going to let me sit down on the soapbox and listen to it. Like, yeah, I just feel like, you know, a new voice. A lot of times you talk about the same stuff. You know, you talk about the same foundational stuff.
Yeah.
But everyone, you know, seasons things differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone to, if they have a story to tell, let them tell it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm game to come back anytime you have me.
Yeah.
I'll come and
we'll just create a whole new series, just you and I. A whole new podcast.
I'll come and hang out, man. We talk about whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Cool. Yeah. So thanks for having me, man.
Take it easy, brother.
Thank you.
All right.